Here we are for another episode, and we're going to be talking the paranormal with Ryan Lieberman.
Hey, how's it going?
Not much, man. We're just chilling here. We're going to be talking about some spooky, scary stuff, and ironically, this is coming out on Halloween.
Yep, it is that time of the year.
Yeah, every Tuesday is my episodes, and it just happens to fall on Halloween this year. So
that is perfect then.
Yep, and who better to have than good old Ryan here?
Yeah, at work I'm known as the ghost guy. So
yes, the ghost hunter.
Yeah, even though I haven't done it in years,
but that's still cool. I mean, it creeps me the fuck out, honestly.
Yeah.
And I don't like to open doors I can't close. So I still, even though I do enjoy the experiences, and I don't really welcome them, but I will say, like when they do happen, I know it's real. I'm not a skeptic anymore because I used to be. I don't know how you were. Were you a skeptic when you first started?
I still am, actually, kind of.
So you're more of the debunker.
I was always the scientific guy that debunked everything, and I looked for
That's a good attitude.
That's any time I went into an investigation, it was always, and they used to yell at me too, actually, my co-investigators.
No,
it's the wind blowing this, and it's causing that. Like, no, it's a ghost. I'm like,
Yeah, but you needed more proof, more validation.
I needed to debunk everything and then leave the unknown after that. I couldn't just automatically jump to paranormal. I had to, figure everything out, and then whatever was left, then I'd be like, oh, okay, well, I can't explain that, so that's interesting.
And I have always felt that's the best way to investigate stuff like that.
Yep, and that goes for like any kind of investigation. You got to just rule everything out and bring it down to what's left.
Yeah, the brass tacks. Absolutely, man. Absolutely. What was your first experience that you've had that made you interested in it?
All right. So, that goes back, because I had experiences as far back as when I was a kid, Really?
I never had any, little kid experiences? How old were you?
The first, ghost experience, paranormal experience I had was, I remember the year, it was 1996. So I was 10?
Okay. Yeah.
And it was after my grandmother on my mother's side passed away, right?
Yeah.
So it was just a couple days after she had passed, and I'm laying on the couch, and it's at night, everybody's asleep. I was just kind of laying on the couch. I had my blanket with me. I was watching TV, and I was kind of dozing off, and all of a sudden I felt my blanket come up around me and tuck me in. But the weird thing is, I wasn't scared at all. There was a sense of calming, comfort. And I just kind of knew, I was but I opened my eyes right away. I'm like, there ain't nobody here. What just happened? But at the same time, I kind of knew it was it felt like it was her. So it didn't freak me out as much as it probably could have.
That's surreal, dude.
So that's the first thing I remember. And then we had a couple experiences there. Nothing too crazy. I remember it was the same thing, sitting on the couch. This was at our old house. I remember sitting on the couch and seeing a creepy shadow kind of just slowly go behind the TV, and I heard heavy breathing, and that freaked me out. I was
my God.
I was
heavy
12.
breathing?
I was 12 at the time, and the breathing felt like it was right behind my ear.
I'm getting the chills just talking about this. Oof.
Yeah, and actually, I don't know if you knew this, though, but this was back when I lived in that. It was in the trailer park, right? And I don't know if you know the story about that property. Did I ever tell you?
I don't think so.
So, the trailer we lived in had a shed on the property.
Yeah.
And a man was dismembered in that shed.
What the fuck?
Yeah, so it was Thanksgiving Day, 1990, I believe it was. It was that was before we moved there, but there was a murder took place. I'm not going to get into the specifics of it, but a guy was dismembered in that shed. And when we moved in, you could still see the bloodstains.
Oh my God.
It was a good shed, though. We kept the shed. But it was like a rite of passage. All the neighborhood kids, especially around Halloween, you'd have to spend, you'd get locked in the death shed, the murder shed. And
oh my God.
Yeah.
Fuck that. I'd be the world's biggest bitch.
I never told you that one?
No.
That was
no.
No, that was actually it was 1990 that happened. You could probably look it up. My dad knows
I'm going to research it as soon as we're done.
He knows all the details of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but so
that's wild.
Yeah. so that was that. Then we moved up into the new house, and that's kind of where everything took off for me, like as far as paranormal.
Yeah, I
That's
find
how.
it does happen a lot. I find like when you move into new places or you're moving out and
Yeah.
stuff.
Well, that place was kind of what propelled me and my sister into getting into the paranormal investigation back then. I mean, this is going back what 10 years ago now, more than
Yeah,
that, like 15 years ago.
yeah.
We were doing all that, and
It is an intriguing, area of investigation because like it's really like if you believe or not, and then
and
if you want to believe or not.
and it's also what do you believe? Because
Yes,
I don't know. I don't know, like what you might consider a ghost. Maybe I don't consider that a ghost. Could be
that's true
something
too.
else. You don't.
That's
You
true
don't
too.
really. You don't really know what it is.
Oh
It
yeah,
could be.
because like if you're religious and stuff like that, like I definitely I believe that there is a spiritual world and a physical world. I believe we both coexist in the same area. It's just whether or not you're sensitive or you could read that type of stuff, and then you have like demonic and then
Mm-hmm.
angelic, like
Yep. But then
so.
I get even further into that. Like I try to I always say I believe everything and I believe nothing. You know,
Okay,
like
yeah.
I don't 100% believe everything without a doubt, but I'm open to everything. I'm like, well, this is possible. Anything's
Yes.
possible. But I don't
That's a
really.
great way to be. So you have an open mind.
Yes, absolutely. Like, and when it comes to ghosts and stuff, you have different types. You have active, like poltergeist. You have residual,
Yeah.
different
Yeah.
types. And like when you talk about like a residual haunting, which is more of like an imprint, a recording in the past. It's
Yeah.
when you keep hearing the same footsteps going up and down the
Like
stairs,
a
or like,
routine almost.
or
Yeah.
like at work, you hear the keys jingle because that's something that's
Yeah.
done
Oh,
every single
I've
day.
heard at
Yeah.
yo, you just sparked to something else too.
Oh, I've seen
Um,
some stuff there too.
oh my god, dude. There was one time where I was overnight. It was overtime. I was working overtime like crazy back when I actually cared. Um, but yeah, it was probably 2018. I was working overnight. I was doing rounds in the industry area,
Mm-hmm.
and I heard a metal feed up cart going down the hallway. And I know no one's down there at that time. And
Yeah, and nobody
at
left a
that
feed
point,
up cart
I'm
down there.
exactly, and I'm pretty sure we didn't have the metal feed up carts anymore at that point. I thought they
We
changed the
had the big
plastic.
brown. We had the big brown
Yeah.
plastic ones. Yeah.
So, but it was the old sound, and I was like, "What the fuck?" Immediately locked everything up and ran back up front.
It's funny you say that about industry because I had an experience down there too one day, and this
The lights
happened.
turning on and off too.
No, this was in the middle of the day too. That what happened to
What?
me. Yeah,
Okay.
it was. We were closing up industry, right? We were closing, frisking everybody out, and I'm looking
Yep.
down the hallway towards shipping.
Yep.
And it's a bright sunny day. It's like what 2 o'clock now, 2 o'clock in the
Yeah. I
afternoon.
mean,
We're
that's the
shutting everything
highest
down.
point. The highest point of the day.
Yep. I look down and I'm looking down. We had finished frisking everybody out, and I look down to make sure the hallway's clear, and I see this ball of light in the middle of the hallway,
What the fuck?
and I'm
Like
like,
an orb?
yeah. And I don't do the whole orb thing. Like
Yeah.
I like to debunk everything. So to
A
me,
lot of it's
90,
dust.
it's dust and insects. But
Yep.
this was clear field of view, middle of the day. I see a ball just kind of in the middle of and it kind of does one of these and then shoots out the window.
Interesting.
Yeah, I was
That's
like,
wild. Was it like almost like a ball of energy, or was it more of like a
it
ball of
was
light?
it was like a ball of light. It was like a little gold ball of light.
That's pretty
I still have
weird.
no idea. That was weird.
Yeah, you can't explain that one.
No, no, not at all. And then we had one, if we're gonna get into work stuff, midnight shift.
Hmm.
Uh, it was one night. It was actually no, it wasn't even midnight shift. It was after 10 o'clock, right? And we had just finished securing. We did the count, everything. I go and I secure up. I'm done. Do the count. Get back to the company. Go to shut the end gate, right? And I look
Hmm.
down and I see somebody all the way at the other end of the company. Now, meanwhile, the back end gates, right, they're shut.
Yeah.
I had gone around. I shut them behind me when you come around. I
Yes.
see I see somebody peeking at me.
What the? Mm-mm. Like
I
from
see
the corner? Like.
all the way in the back. Yeah, I'm at the front,
Oh no! No!
and
No!
I'm
No!
like,
No! No!
yeah, that's not good. I think I yelled down. I forget who I was working with. I'm like, yo, I'm like, come up the second deck. Like, I got to go back down there. Like, I don't know what's going on.
Yeah,
I gotta check this
you
out.
have to check it out. You're like
So,
required.
so I go back down there, and like I remember like one of the inmates in the back, like 83, 84. So I'm like, yo, I'm like, did you hear something? Like as I'm opening the end gate, and he's just like, I don't know what that was. The inmate said that to me. I
Oh
was like,
shit!
and he's freaked out too. I'm freaked out, and I
Yeah,
open it,
and he
and
can't go nowhere.
no, and I open the end gate, and I look in the back go around, and there's nobody there. I walk back, make sure the other end
Mm-mm.
gate's shut. I had another officer checking the other
Mm.
side now. Like there's nothing. Everything's locked. There's no way it could have been
That's a
anybody
big
there.
nope for me, bud.
Yeah,
Fuck that. Yeah, no. The only other
yeah,
time, really. I mean, that place is fucking ridiculous. But there was one time I was doing a count in A block, and I won't mention anybody else's name, but you do the count, and then someone else, verifies it, and then co-signs it. So I do the count, and I come back downstairs. I give the A man the count, and it was an extra body. I'm like, what do you mean an extra body? I was like, I counted all these dudes, like, and I forget what cell it was,
I've
and
heard of
then
this. I've heard this. Go ahead.
you did okay. So and then another officer went up and verified it, and I didn't talk to him at all.
Yeah,
He went up there, verified it, came back downstairs, gave the same number to the A man, and he goes, "I don't know what the fuck you guys are talking about. The dude that you're saying that you saw sitting on his bed was outside hospital today. He's not
Oh
here."
yeah.
So I'm like, what do you mean he's not here? I was like, we both saw the same dude. And then I asked the other officer that verified it. I said, it was a dude, right? He was sitting on his bed. And we described the guy. And he goes, yeah. He goes, that's exactly him. And then he goes, well, guys, he's not there. So we go back up there just to triple check, right? And he wasn't there.
Oh
We're like,
wow.
what the fuck just happened?
Did he? Was he dead at outside hospital that day?
I'm almost positive because
Oh man.
he did wind up dying out in outside hospital, but I don't
Oh,
know
that's
when it actually happened.
that'd be really creepy if that was. Oh man.
If it died that same day, yeah, that'd be
Yeah.
fucking nuts. But yeah, that was wild.
There's a lot of residual energy in that place, just from basically just from routine too. You know, we do the same
Yes.
movements every
Yep.
day, multiple times a day for
Yeah.
what since 1940, 1940s, 1950s.
Yeah. There, despite what a lot of people think, there is a little consistency in that
Yeah,
place. Like just a little bit.
a little
you
bit.
know.
So,
But yeah, but like, oh, you were getting into like the different types of ghosts, right? Like,
yeah, so
like
yeah,
I know there's interactive personalities, right? Some of them,
yep.
like they'll interact with you.
I've had some really cool interactions that I can't explain. Right, so
Okay.
we use what's called an EMF detector, electromagnetic field detector, and
Yes, that's a
basically
handy dandy trusty one that's been around for a while, right?
yeah, so we have, it's just a little thing, little box that has some lights on it, and it'll
Mm-hmm.
go from green to yellow to red depending on the amount of interference, and
Okay.
you can test it out. Like you turn the microwave on near it, it's going to freak out, But
Okay. Yeah,
so
sets it off the charts.
the way I always did it is if we were going to do a room and I was going to do something like that, I would check the entire room and get a base reading and make sure there's nothing that's going to throw it off.
Yep.
So forget which place we were at. It might have been we did a couple. I can't remember which place it was, but I do remember I had did a whole base reading on the room, set the EMF detector down in the middle of the table, right?
Yeah.
And I start asking yes or no questions, and this thing is responding to me.
Mm-mm.
Like there's nothing on the table except the EMF detector. There's nothing else. Like all the lights are off. We typically do investigations at night, So
Yeah.
like all the lights are off, everything's off, there's nothing going on, and I can say, light this up for yes and don't do nothing for no or whatever it was. And this thing we were able to narrow down a name. Like I forget.
That's wild.
Yeah, like I'd go stop me at like A, B, C, and it would flash, and
That's
it was
pretty. That's pretty smart, dude.
yeah. This was back before they had the whole like ghost box things that
Yo,
people
that thing
use.
is wild. That thing is wild.
I never used one. I stopped. I kind of stopped doing the whole thing, but those had just started coming out,
Yeah.
and I didn't really get into that. But I've seen it. Like the idea, from what I understand, is pretty cool. It keeps it open. It scans a bunch of frequencies.
Yeah.
And then it'll keep like open all FM channels, whatever, and then it can choose what to let through, and you'll get like a word come through.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I've
that's
seen that on a couple of those news shows and whatnot. And when I first came out, I'm not gonna lie, I was like, that seems too good to be true.
yeah, I
You
don't.
know, like
I take a lot of stuff with a grain of salt when it comes to like
You have
things
to.
like that.
you definitely
Especially,
have
like,
to.
especially like psychics. Like I'm a little iffy about people claiming that they're psychic,
You
or
know, and that
but
was one thing I will say that like mediums, I was very iffy about it. I still have never experienced a medium reading myself though, so I can't really talk too much about it. But
there's one guy that I 100% believe, and he is for me to say this guy is legit is to say a lot, because I take
yeah,
that stuff with a grain of salt. But as he was on when I was on the Maury Povich show, right? He came to our
yeah,
house and did all that. His name's Jeffrey Wands, and he's legit. Like he's a creepy guy. Like he can,
yeah,
yeah, I like just the stuff he could come through and say without having like things no one ever would have known, like about like my dad and his friend and everything. Like
yeah.
nobody would have known certain things like that. I don't care who you are, if you try to look stuff up beforehand, like there was things that nobody would have been able to figure out that he knew. So
See, and
he's like the only guy I really ever believed.
yeah, and think about it this way. This is where you'll keep your mind open to. Is like you can take it with a grain of salt, but if one of those people exist, there's got to
Yep,
be
there's
more.
got to be
You
more.
know,
So
and like that's why I'll never shoot them down. At first, I was hugely skeptical. But then, like, once I started watching other people get readings, and then, like, my wife Vicky, she went to a psychic, and her experiences, and her family actually, with her Puerto Rican heritage, I think they're called brujas, but like they practice like certain sort of like spiritual things where they could actually receive these things and
mm-hmm.
get, and her mother too, you know, has premonitions and whatnot that actually very oddly came true
Oh
over
wow.
the years. So, and she doesn't really like to talk about it too much or get into detail. So, you know, and I don't know if that's because of like her thing. I don't know because I'm not like that. You know, the only thing I will say is like I don't welcome it, but I do experience my own paranormal stuff over the years too, especially once my father passed. When my
Mm-hmm.
father passed, and I was 17, you know, so I was already, you know, like a little bit of an attitude, you know, typical teenager. My younger brother at the time was 13, you know, and that's a big moment, you know, like,
Yeah.
and he was still hanging on to, you know, like that was dad and whatnot. And my parents were split already at that point. So, you know, he knew the weekend dad. But when my dad passed away, we were given a guitar that he had. And it was probably, I don't remember how many days, but after he passed away, my brother came up with an idea. He said, let's leave this out on the kitchen table with a note that says, like I think it was like, Dad, if you're here, you know, play something.
Yeah.
So we go in our room, and we shared a room at this time, still, you know, 17 and 13. And we had a bunk bed. So we're sleeping, and I forget what time it was, but I hear my brother, he's tapping on the side of the bed, trying to get my attention. I'm like, what? You know, he's like, dude, he goes, the guitar. And we just hear the E string, the low E string just boom,
Oh
boom.
wow.
And we're like, what the fuck? It sent, I was like, no fucking way, no fucking way.
Yeah.
Because I actually thought this was so stupid. You know, I was mad, I was upset, you know, going through my emotions with my dad passing, you know. But I was like, this, you know, stupid, it's not going to work, you know. And sure as shit, we run out there, and the string, it stopped playing, but you could tell that the string was still vibrating.
Oh
So
wow.
we were like, what the fuck? And still to this day, we don't know if it was our dad or not. You know what I'm saying? Like, it could
Yeah.
have been something else.
I mean, it takes a lot to pluck a string on a guitar.
You
I
would
mean,
think, right? But and it's something that we both experienced. Still to this day, it still gives us the chills. You know,
yeah.
we're like, what the fuck?
Now, I'll share a quick experience that's not my own,
Yeah,
but one of my sisters, right? So,
absolutely. Yeah,
a couple years, more than a couple years ago, a couple years, you know, you say a couple years, nowadays, everything's like 10, 15 years ago for
yeah.
us.
Time flies.
Like, we're
Yep,
getting
time definitely
old.
flies.
We're getting
Absolutely.
old.
Yeah.
I
We're
could think a couple years ago. Now I'm like, no, this was like 10 years ago.
Yeah, I
But,
know. It's wild. I guess that's what happens. I guess that's
yeah,
what adults meant when we were younger. You know, don't grow up, kid. You know.
I still think 2001 was like 10 years ago, you know?
Yeah, it
Like,
feels like it. Yeah, it feels.
so anyway, my sister, one of her, you know, someone she knew passed away, right?
Yeah,
And I think it was like a couple days after the wake, and she has I think it was like a heart locket that she
yeah.
would hang on her rearview mirror, you know.
Okay. Yep.
So she took I have to see if she still has the picture. This was years ago, but she took a picture of it. She stops at Dunkin' Donuts, right? She goes inside. You know, you always lock your car. It's force of habit. You know, you go
Yeah.
inside, you
You
lock your
have
car. She
to.
locks the car. She goes inside, gets her coffee, comes back out. unlocks the car, opens the door. This heart locket, it's a chain with a heart on it.
Yeah.
It's on the rearview mirror. Is no longer on the rearview mirror. It's around her steering wheel, tied in a little knot.
What the? No.
Yeah,
How?
she took a picture of it too. She was so I remember her coming home that day and telling us like she's freaking out, and she even showed she took a picture of it, and I remember seeing the picture, and it was just like it was like to come from the mirror off and then looped around and tied in a little knot is insane. Like I don't know how to
Imagine
explain
being
that.
just a fucking passerby and you actually just happen to see this fucking necklace floating in a
Like
car.
floating and then
Like,
tied
what the
itself.
fuck? I would literally be like this with my coffee. I'm like, the fuck? Just drop my coffee.
Yeah, so
Oh my god, that's creepy.
Yeah, that's.
I mean,
she
it's
said
it's sort of loving, but
yeah. Well, she said the person who would pass, he's kind of like a jokester. So it's she felt immediate, like it's something he would have done, So.
Yeah, I mean, I guess they could do that. I've heard of spirits being able to communicate through feelings and through like everything. Though I guess smells is a common thing,
Yep.
and stuff like that.
Well, that was the other thing. Like my story earlier about getting tucked in or whatever.
Yeah.
I would smell my grandmother's perfume, like it would just know it was her. So very.
See, and that's why I've always made sure, like, and it sounds stupid to some people, but that makes an impression on kids.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Smells, forget that. Like, I could still smell my great grandmother's perfume every once in a while, and it was this stuff called White Diamonds, which is like a really strong, old lady perfume.
Yep.
Sorry for anybody who wears it, but it's an old lady perfume to me because that was my great grandmother that wore it. And every once in a while I'll still get that smell, you know what I'm saying? And it's usually when I'm out and about, so someone else could be wearing it, but but it still reminds me of her. But like that's why like I think keeping the same smells for younger kids, I think that actually has a good effect. So
yeah,
look.
So one thing I do want to touch on, right, is because we're talking about some investigations I've done.
Absolutely,
did I ever tell you about the investigation I did in Georgia?
No.
So
I didn't even know you traveled out of state to go do something crazy.
I know, we actually used to travel. So actually, I'll give a little. I should probably go with a little background information about how all the investigations and me doing all that started, right?
Yeah.
So when we originally moved into the house that my parents are in now, right? We started noticing weird things happen. Like things moving, hearing noises, which it's an old house, but it's new to us. You're gonna But then like some crazy stuff starts happening. Like and there's a history to the house. Somebody unfortunately, and it was somebody we knew who lived there beforehand had committed suicide in the basement.
Oh my god.
So
what is up with houses that you lived in where people fucking died?
A good deal is a good deal. So right, we moved there. We're there and it always seems to kick off around Halloween.
I wonder why.
Well, I didn't know until a couple years ago. We looked it up. He actually killed himself on Halloween.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was.
Did something take a hold of him?
It's like no. He was. I don't want to get into personal because it was a friend of our family, but he was. He had cancer. He was towards the end of his life.
So he had some stuff going on. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, things start happening. Right. I freaking get smacked in the back of the head one night while I'm laying in bed.
That's aggressive.
It didn't feel aggressive though. Like it was more like, hey, you dummy, like
a playful, like a.
But it was enough to force my head down into the mattress though. Like I was like, oh, what the, So that happens. We had, and if you look, we actually talk about all this on the Maury Show, the episode I was on. But
that's right. Yeah, I forgot you were on Maury.
I know, that's kind of what kicked all that off too. So me and my sister were leaving one day, right? And I'm going out the back door, or no, I'm going out the front door. She's going out the back door, right? We both leave at the same time. We're like, all right, we're heading out. My car was more towards the front. I think that's why I was going that way.
Yeah.
We both open the doors and we hear a crash in the house. So we come running back in at the same time and we meet in the kitchen and we both stop. Like we both ran in and like, what is going on?
Yeah, like what's going on? Yeah.
We look, the cabinets in the kitchen are open, right?
Yo. All right.
Hold on. Let me finish.
Yeah.
So the cabinets are open, and the Tupperware that was in the top cabinet is on the floor in a complete straight line from the kitchen into the dining room.
What? A complete
Yeah,
straight line? Like
yeah.
not
If it fell out and somehow ended up in a complete straight line, it came out like all like they were all stacked together. And I mean, it's possible when it fell, it could have just gone in the line. But
I mean, the odds of that happening though
yeah, I
is,
know.
that's wild.
Yeah. So, um, the way we got involved with everything then is my dad was at work, right, at the town hall, and somebody had come in, a friend of mine, Lisa Blake, and they started talking about ghosts and stuff somehow. And she goes, "Oh, well, I have a paranormal investigation group, you know." He goes, "Oh, well, you should come over, you know, check our house out. A whole bunch of
Yeah,
crap's going on." So she's like, "Okay." So she comes over with her team, which back then it was called Hudson Valley Paranormal Society.
I do remember
Um,
that. They had a
yeah, that was
Facebook, I think, right?
I think it was years ago.
Okay.
So they came over, they did their whole thing. Me and my sister were like, "Hey, we're really interested in this stuff." You know, she's like, "Oh, well, you want to join? Come on some investigations." We're like, "Yeah." So we
Yeah.
joined and kind of got rolling into that. So you know, about 6 months, a year go by, and Maury Povich reaches out to Lisa and his producers, like, "Hey, we need an episode for Halloween, but we need like a family calling out for help." She goes, "Well, we have, you know, two of our investigators. Their house is like really like there's a lot of stuff going on."
Yeah.
She's like, "All right, well, we just have to film it, so it's like kind of like you guys are calling out for help." So that's kind of, if you ever
Yeah.
watch the episode, it's like, you know, me and my dad, like we're like, "Oh, we called them in to come help us," but a lot of the
Yeah.
evidence is stuff we caught all together
Yeah.
that they
Yep.
show. And then a funny thing is, my mom wanted no part of it. Like she didn't want to be on TV or anything like
I'd
that.
be
So
like your mom. I would
so
be like your mom.
so I'll never forget. Like she was like not in it at all. Like so like if you watch it, it's like you're kind of thinking like, "Oh, what happened?" You know, if you knew the family, like, "Yo, where's the mom?"
Oh,
So we had one of our cousins called like after it aired. He goes, "Is Aunt Diane okay? What's going on?" Like, "No, no,
yo.
no, she's good. She just didn't want to be on it."
Yeah. Oh my God, that's nuts.
Yeah,
Poor cousin.
yeah. He was like, "I had no idea."
So he could
Oh
have got
man,
the wrong idea. That's pretty
yeah,
funny. Yeah, no, that with the cabinets that triggered me because one of our experiences after we had Lily. She was born in 2015, and we lived over in Spackenkill, behind the high school. And
yeah,
that neighborhood's an old neighborhood. You know, it was built for the IBMers back then.
yep,
So and it was on Scenic Drive. And I'll never forget, like the first experiences in that house, it was weird because they came before Lily was born, this certain experience. So Vicky was pregnant. And I guess that could also attract some things too. I don't know. But so we're in this house, and what we noticed is it started with the laundry room light downstairs. It would just turn on by itself. For some reason, we had no clue. And I'm like, this has to be like an electrical issue. Because it was like routine. We're like, what the fuck is going on with this thing? But every time I went downstairs, the switch itself on the wall was
yep,
up. It
yep,
was up as if somebody turned it on. So I'm like, okay, so it's obviously not a wiring issue. There's nothing making this. Somehow this fucking light keeps going on. And back then, I didn't have, security cameras, or I didn't even think to put a camera on the light switch. And just, I was like, whatever, and that's how it started. But, we would be laying in bed, and she's pregnant, as hell. I'm working like crazy at work. We're both exhausted in our own ways. But she would hear certain noises or certain rustling around out in the living room. And now my sister-in-law, her sister, lived with us at the time. But she was, once she was in bed, she was in bed. She wasn't really walking around the house or anything like that. And she was always in bed pretty early. And I noticed, like, I heard the noise too when Vicky would hit me, and I'm like, what the fuck? And she's like, I think somebody's here. I'm like, what? She goes, I swear to God, somebody's walking out there. I'm like, so obviously I grabbed my gun.
yep.
I grab
That's
my
the
gun.
first thing we do.
The first thing I do, I turn around, I grab my gun, and I have my flashlight with me and my gun in my hand. And I'm leaving the bedroom, and I'm like, okay. And I look at Jolie's room and my sister-in-law, and her room's closed. The baby's room is wide open because she's not born yet. We have the room set up for the baby.
Yep.
I'm going down the hallway. Now, at this point, the lights weren't on. So I'm looking around, and it was a loud bang that she heard, and then walking around, I guess. So I'm looking around, and I'm like, oh, what the fuck? and there's one of our decorative signs that was on the floor, and I had it hung up. It's like a raised ranch, so like the
Yeah.
the dining rooms are usually right next to the kitchen,
Yep.
across from the living room.
Yep.
So there's a little overhang at the top. You know what I'm saying? It's like a big open like entryway to the dining room, and I had the sign right there. And now this sign somehow, and it was in the fucking wall with a screw, bro, a screw. I didn't even use nails. I screwed the screw in there, and I took the sign and I pulled it down to make sure it was secure. That thing wasn't going anywhere. Somehow this thing fell off the fucking wall and onto the ground, and it broke. And it was one of our favorite signs. But get
Yeah.
this, it was a religious sign. It was
Oh
actually
wow.
it was Corinthians 13:13, where it says like faith, love, and hope or something like that. And I'm like,
That's
okay,
kind of
that's
like a bad
creepy.
omen. That's kind of like a
Yeah,
bad omen right there.
exactly. So that freaked me the fuck out because not only am I skeptical about this stuff, but I did believe in it at this point because I experienced some things at the house where I was growing up. So I'm like, what is going on? This is creepy as shit. So I'm like, all right, whatever. I'm just going to chalk this up to maybe I just did a bad job at hanging it. I don't know. So I let her know. I'm like, hey, this was the sign. I don't know what the hell. So I glued it back together. We still have it in our house now.
Okay.
So I glued it back together, fixed the sign, and I put it back up. It stayed there. But what happened was later on, it was probably maybe a month or two, whatever, we started experiencing other things. So we would hear the footsteps, we'd hear the noises, banging, like as if someone was up. And there's a couple of times where I would go out there and the lights were on in the whole house. I'm
Oh
like, what the
wow.
fuck? I was like, we turned all these fucking lights off before bed. We have a routine, even still to this day. Me and my wife, we go around the house. All the windows are locked, all the doors are locked, all the lights are off, except for in strategic places throughout the house. So when the kids get up or when someone gets up, they could at least see.
Yeah.
But that's our routine every night, ever
Yeah.
since we moved in together. So we all these lights were turned off, bro. But somehow these lights turned back on. But the one night that freaked me the fuck out, where we were like, all right, that's it. We're done. We're done. Not only is this house shitty and it floods in the basement, but now we're dealing with something else that we can't fucking
Yeah.
control.
Sounds like my house.
So I go out there one night and I'm like, okay, it's probably the lights are on, this and that. Lights are on. But I go in the kitchen because I notice, I'm like, what the fuck's the cabinet doing? I go in the kitchen and virtually almost every single cabinet in my kitchen is open. And that's where I was like,
Oof.
fuck this. I said, fuck this. I'm done. I'm
That's
done.
something. That's something playing games right there.
Yep, yep.
Yeah.
So and I said, all right, you won. That's it. You won. We're out. We were out. We fucking left.
Oof.
It was wild, dude. It was wild. It's shit like
Yeah.
that.
I couldn't
I'm
deal with
just
that
happy
every
that there's
day.
other. I'm just happy that there's other people when this shit happens. 9 times out of 10 with me, there's other people that are experiencing it with me. So I know it's not just me.
Yeah.
It's like the only time that like recently at this house, anyways, which we've been very blessed, and I'm very thankful for everything with this house, and we've been pretty on a good run. I'm gonna knock on wood right here, right on this fucking
Yep.
window frame. And I thank God that nothing else is being weird. But there was one moment here, and this was only about 2 months ago. I'm home with the kids. I'm swapped off. Vicky's at work, and it's like at the time where I just got them off the bus, and we're waiting for mommy to come home from work. Now the little guy, Liam, he runs around this fucking house like you wouldn't believe. I feel like I'm yelling in the yard, no running, like 24/7 in this house, like no running, stop running, walk, And I could have sworn I seen him run from the bathroom to his room. So and it, sure as shit, dude, this was
Oh,
my son. Get this,
I
this was
know.
my fucking son. It was not a ghost. It wasn't a fucking shadow. I seen my son run from the bathroom to his room. And I'm like, and I said to him, like I always say, no running, dude, no running, only walk. And then he's like, what are you talking about, Daddy? I'm like, what do you
I'm
mean?
like, oh whoa.
I literally walked over to his room to go tell, because
Yeah.
as I'm saying no running, I'm walking to his room and he's not in his room. I'm like, what the fuck? I go around the corner because his room is set right behind the living room. I look around the wall and he's laying down on the couch in the same position where I left him, playing the Nintendo Switch.
Oh man.
I'm like, what
See,
the fuck?
Now that's actually kind of like a common thing that I've heard about is people hearing you hearing your wife call out to you.
Yep.
She's not there, or you hear somebody that you know, or you think you see somebody walk into a room and you think it's your wife or your
Yep.
and there's nobody there. Like, I
What
don't
kind of
know if
haunting? What kind of like ghost would you even consider that? That's weird. Or is that like a glitch in a matrix? I know that's something like
I'm
deeper,
thinking,
but
yeah, I know that's what I'm getting at. Is I think it's like more of maybe a glitch in the matrix thing. Maybe
yeah, because there
could be
was time.
something.
The only other time that I experienced something like that, but I didn't see him, is and Billy knows, my younger brother. When we lived in the house that we were growing up in, when he would come home from school, he'd get off the bus right in front of the house. He'd walk up the driveway, and he would come into the front door. He would come in
Yeah.
the front door. He'd be like, "All right, I'm home." And literally, I'm chilling there. I'm in the living room. My stepfather's sitting on the couch doing whatever. And we're both sitting there. It's a normal day. We hear the door open. We hear, "I'm home." We hear the door
Mm-hmm.
shut.
And you
I
both
get
hear
up.
it.
Yep, I get up. We both heard it. I get up. I go over, and it's a raised ranch. So I'm looking down the stairs to the landing, and he's not there. And then my brother comes home like 5 minutes later.
Yep, I think a lot of people have those experiences, and I don't know what it is. Like, it's
Okay, good,
just
because like that's fucking
I
weird.
know I've had the same thing happen, and
You
it's
did.
not like, yeah, it's like you think,
Okay.
like I thought my, like, you think your sister or your mom's comes home, or you could swear 100% you saw them come in the door and say hi to you, and then
Yep.
go in their bedroom or whatever, and then 10 minutes later you realize they're not home, and now they're coming in. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's weird. I don't know how to explain that one. I don't know if it's like a glitch in the matrix, or if it's just maybe because you're so, it's so repetitive in your head, you're just maybe subconsciously thinking it happened because you're remembering
Yeah.
a day before, or the last couple
Yeah.
of
Our own
days.
minds could create a
Yeah, I
lot.
don't.
So
That's weird.
that is very strange. Maybe that's not a haunting, but like, I mean, it's enough to creep you the
Yeah.
fuck out.
Well, I love talking about stuff like that, like,
Oh,
figuring out
absolutely. Yeah.
figuring how the world works, and when things don't work the way they're supposed to, and why it does it that way. Like, I love glitch in the matrix stuff. And
Oh, yeah. I mean, I dive deep into
now
everything. Like, I don't know how to have not a deep conversation. Like,
now the house, that we're in now, my wife
yeah.
swears there's stuff going on. I
Oh,
haven't
shit.
really
Okay.
I haven't really noticed anything myself. Like, just here and there, some weird things happen, except
Yeah.
this. And I'm gonna play this for you, and it should, hopefully it'll come through. If
Oh,
not,
yeah.
it's
Let's
on
hear
my.
it.
So, a little background information. I'm gonna have it so it's just looped, so you'll be able to hear it over and over again. This
Okay.
is my blink camera, right?
Okay. Oh, okay.
I think you've heard this one. I don't know if you have. It's on my TikTok, but this was when I'm coming home from doing whatever. As soon as the audio restore starts, you hear a voice. Now, nobody's home. I'm just pulling in the driveway. Nobody else is home right now. My wife is at work.
Yeah.
You hear something. Well, I'm just going to play it, and maybe you can say, what do you hear, so I don't kind of feed into it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Let me hear it.
let me hold this up.
Yeah.
It's going to repeat.
She's coming. He's
You hear it,
coming.
right?
Yes. He's coming.
Like, oh, he's coming, or Valerie's coming, or something along the lines of that.
Something, and then the word coming for sure.
Yeah, but you hear coming, and it's just, I don't know if you can. I'll try to hold it up, but it's literally just me.
It's like a regular Ring camera.
It's just me coming in and closing the door.
Yeah,
and
you're closing the door to the car. Yeah.
Yeah, but you hear it as soon as the audio starts, and I have the original is just.
That's clearer.
Oh, this one's louder actually. So let me try
That's pretty wild, dude. Oh my god. Yeah.
I can't explain that one.
It sounds like, oh, he's coming.
Yeah, really creepy.
Which is weird because it's timed perfectly of you closing your car door and heading to your house.
What's creepier even more is, like, I don't normally like check the cam, but I get home, I get settled in, I sit on the couch, and for some reason I went and I checked the camera footage of me coming into the house, and I'm sitting on my couch that day, and I'm sitting on my couch by myself, and I'm like, oh, what?
Yo.
And I start looking around. I'm like, what was that? Like, what is that? And I would
automatically just be like, all right, fuck it, I'm going to the store. I'm leaving.
Well, I think that's what I ended up doing. But I ended up sending it to my wife. She was at work, and she goes, what is that?
Oh my god, and she's already freaked out.
Yeah, so I
What
still
else has
like
she said? What else has she talked about
just the
happening?
things going missing, seeing things out of the corner of your eye, like where we sit in the living room
Yeah.
when you're sitting watching TV. To the right of the TV is the hallway that goes down to the bedrooms.
Yeah. Oh,
So
that's the creepiest fucking view too.
it's a horrible thing. And what's worse is we have a mirror at the end of the hallway. So
Oh
it's
God.
so I'll be sitting there and the cats will run between the rooms and I'll be looking
Yeah.
like
Oh God. Yeah. A mirror at the end of a hallway is creepy, no matter
yeah.
where it is. Like, I mean, that would easily fuck with your head.
Now I checked the history of the house, like and nothing, like nobody died
Nothing.
here or
Is it an
anything.
older house?
Nah, it was built in 71. It's not
Yeah,
too old.
mine is 1960. So,
Yeah. Now,
but
if
yeah,
you want to get into some creepy old. Are you into history at all?
I love history, man. I
Do
am a
you?
history buff.
Oh, I am too. You see, I got a bunch of
Yeah.
books back
I mean,
there.
I'm not gonna lie. I don't know a lot about history, but it's always intrigued me. There's something about
Well,
going to old historical places where I know, like, this person stood at one point.
well, I'm going to teach you a little local history, and then
Let's do it.
I'm going to segue into a ghost story. So
Yes, let's do
it'll
it.
work out. So Fishkill, right? Do you
Yes,
know the Revolutionary War history of Fishkill at all?
I do not.
So during the Revolutionary War, right, Washington, came through, and then down, so south of 84, the old Duchess Mall.
I do remember that homestead over there. Yeah.
So on the other side is the homestead, but
Yes.
Where Duchess Mall is, that was the supply depot for the Revolutionary Army. They had a smith shop there, a supply depot. Like,
Wow.
in fact, before they built the Duchess Mall back in what was it, the 70s or 80s, they
Mm-hmm.
did ground penetrating radar, and they estimated something like thousands of artifacts are down there.
Wow. What a
So
good
now,
fucking what is it? Metal detecting area.
yeah, well, it's all paved over now. But
Mm.
now on the other side, right by Cafe Maya and
Yeah.
everything, right before Cafe Maya, you'll see there's a little memorial there.
Yeah.
It's a Revolutionary War soldiers graveyard there. Um,
Oh.
so this is where it gets a little controversial, right? Because they're talking about building. It's like Continental Commons. They were talking about building there, which I'm not going to get into all that. I'm not going to get
Yeah.
into politics of whether or not you should do anything.
Yeah.
What I'm going to get into, though, is I personally believe, of my own opinion, that where they have the graves marked, in that little area there, I
Yeah.
think that's just a little piece of it. I personally think there's thousands of soldiers buried there.
Really? So you think there was a bigger graveyard there?
So the reason I think that is, I have a book, right? History of Dutchess County. It's thick. I
That's
got
pretty
it back
sick.
there somewhere,
Hell yeah.
and it's got everything you could think of from the you know creation of the United States all the way up to the Civil War.
Okay.
But there's an account in the book, right? And they actually interviewed a lady that was alive during the Revolutionary War in Fishkill, and they interviewed her, right, in the book,
Wow.
and they talked to her, and she states, so during the winter, they said the bodies of the soldiers were stacked on Main Street in Fishkill as high as firewood cord. Said the soldiers that
Oh.
died of disease and sickness, all the soldiers from the Battle of White Plains, they said all these soldiers were taken to basically, behind Cafe Maya, there's like a mountain kind of behind
Yep.
it. It's
Yeah.
raised up.
It goes uphill a little bit.
So basically, she says they started burying at the base of that mountain and worked their way up.
Oh my god.
Now, if you look at where the memorial is, or where they've confirmed there's actual bodies, that's quite a distance ways from that mountain.
It is. Yeah.
So, and they're saying, oh, like there's some people that say, oh, and there's no proof that any soldiers are buried there. There's not proof of, or maybe it's like, 15 or 20 soldiers. From that
Hmm.
account that I read, it sounds like it's hundreds, if not.
That's wild, dude.
So, to just think, next time you're driving up Route 9, you could be driving over the graves of,
Yeah,
Revolutionary
because
War
if that's,
soldiers.
I mean, you're talking about a massive
It's
graveyard.
it's quite possibly the largest unmarked Revolutionary War gravesite in the country.
Wow. And
Um, they,
nobody really cares to investigate this, I guess.
no, they do. There's actually it's Friends of the Fishkill Supply Depot. I think they're really into it, but everybody I've talked to, everybody kind of thinks that it's just that one area that they've already marked. My personal opinion is it's a lot more vast than that.
Yeah.
I mean, um, and from what I don't want to badmouth any local businesses, but I will say that they've tried to do ground penetrating radar in the past, and they weren't allowed to. So there's really
Yep.
no way to prove that. And I kind of get that from a
I
business
mean, unless
standpoint.
I could get it from the business standpoint, but there's got to be some sort of like indemnification that you could probably
Yeah,
get. You know what I'm saying? Like, all right, listen, like as long as there's nothing that would risk me losing my business, then. But then
yeah,
again, like if that's the case, as an owner, I
no,
probably wouldn't want to know.
yeah.
You know?
So okay, now I'm going to segue into a ghost story.
Yes.
So with that information in mind, right? And
Yeah.
so this ghost story is from my dad actually. So
Okay.
and I remember this story. He's told me this. This was back in the '90s, I believe, when he worked in Village of Fishkill Police Department.
Yeah.
And he was sitting, I forget the exact location, but somewhere right off of 9 up that way. And him and his partner are sitting there doing radar. It's at night, not much going on. And
Yeah.
they're kind of just sitting there. And he says something runs in front of the squad car, right? So
Huh.
his partner looks at him and he goes, "Yo, did you see that?" My dad goes, "Listen, don't say anything. Take out your notepad, write down what you saw. I'm going to write down what I saw, and we're going to exchange notes so we don't feed into each other."
That's
Right?
smart. That's smart.
So they did it. They exchanged notes, and they both wrote down the same exact thing.
What?
Minuteman. Minuteman.
What?
They said my dad swears, and my dad, you know my dad. He's straightforward.
Yep.
He's if he says something happened, I believe him 100%. He's
Yeah.
47 years as a police officer. If he
Yeah.
says
It's
something
a long
happened,
time.
he swears that they were sitting there and a dude in full colonial getup with a musket ran in front of their car in Fishkill.
What the fuck? Imagine that. Like you're literally sitting there. You're
Yep.
like, oh man, I only got like 2 hours left of my shift. You know, like, and then you just
Minuteman
happen to
runs.
look. You just look up and there's some dude in a fucking getup running. I'm like, what the fuck? Especially if he had a gun in his hand, I'd be like, oh shit, you know.
Yeah. That's some crazy stuff,
That
though.
is wild, man.
Yep.
That
A
is
lot
wild.
of a lot of history around
There,
these
I mean, there
parts.
is a lot of history around here. Like when you take a look at the old pictures of Poughkeepsie alone, I'm like, those are so intriguing.
Did you? Okay, here. This isn't a ghost story, but I think you'll find this.
Yeah, hell yeah.
You're gonna like this one. You ever heard of the Dutchess County Invincibles?
No,
So that was our militia during the Revolutionary War.
really.
Yeah. So what the Dutchess County Invincibles did? You know Cal Rock Apartments in the city of Poughkeepsie?
I do not.
But the Cal Rock, it's the apartment building on the water. Like it's Cal Rock. It's called. It's right by the near the walkway.
Oh, is
A
is
lot
the
of people
tall
go and
building or
yeah, it's a big apartment building right after Vassar, I think. Yeah, people go down and
okay?
park down in that area to hang out by the waterfront
Yeah,
usually.
yeah. I think I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
All right, so that's Cal Rock, right? So there was the Battle of Cal Rock, right, during the
Okay.
Revolutionary War, and it wasn't much of a battle. So
Oh
what
God.
happened was there was a British ship coming up the Hudson River, right?
Mm-hmm.
And our Dutchess County Invincibles, they're like, oh, they had one cannon, one little cannon, right? They're like, we're gonna fucking shoot this thing. So they're like, all right. So they get their little cannon, they fire at this British ship, completely miss it. Probably
Oh
didn't even hit it.
God.
Probably didn't go get near it at all. And the British ship just empties her fucking guns on the
Of
coastline of
course. Yep.
Poughkeepsie and
Oh my
blows
God.
everything all to hell. So
Oh
yeah,
my God.
I thought
They're
that'd be
definitely not
you'd laugh at
invincible.
that.
I
No,
mean, the
I thought
name is
you'd
sort of ironic.
yeah, I thought you'd laugh at that.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it sounds like some like a bunch of drunk dudes left Mahoney's, you know.
Yeah.
And let's shoot at this fucking thing.
Fucking British, fuck
Yeah,
them.
yeah, yeah, yeah. A bunch of Irishmen.
Yep.
That's pretty funny. So yeah. Oh yeah, we already went over mediums. I wanted to ask you ectoplasms and ectomist. Have
All
you seen
right.
any of that, like like fog and
No.
misty type stuff? Because they
I mean,
say that it's common in like graveyards, but I've never really
I mean,
investigated a graveyard.
I've seen like the one time I saw like a mist, and it was outside though. So I'm like, it could have
It
just
could
been a
be anything, yeah.
And I'm like, of course, me, like, we're sitting there. It was at my parents' house, right? While we were doing an investigation, I think we were sitting outside. And it was weird. I will grant it. It was weird. We're sitting there in this big cloud, and this was before people vaped. Vapes weren't a
Yeah,
thing back
vaping
then.
is huge now.
Can't even blame it on a vape. So,
Yeah.
this thick white cloud just comes out of nowhere and goes past us. We're like, huh? and it just kind of goes off into the woods.
Interesting.
And I'm like, is the dryer on? Like,
Yeah.
like I'm trying to
Is it
think,
cold outside? Yeah.
like
Was it
it's
cold
cold.
outside?
Can I see my breath? And it was one of those things. I'm like, all right, that was weird, but I'm not convinced. Like
Yeah, especially
that's just how
outside.
I am, especially outside.
Yeah,
Um,
like if you're chilling in your living room and there's like a fucking cloud in the corner,
now,
then you have something.
now ectoplasm, right? I've never experienced that. I mean, you can see some of the old pictures from like the 1950s from those. Do you ever see those pictures from like the
Yeah.
50s of the seance of the stuff coming out of their nose and stuff?
Yeah.
I've
Yeah.
never experienced anything like that. What I would be interested in is if something you would think if that were to happen nowadays, like I'd
Hmm.
be, give me some of that. I'm gonna have this
Yeah.
tested in a lab. I want to know what
Absolutely.
this is.
Yeah.
I want to know what this is made of. You
Yeah.
know?
It's nothing of our earth. I can tell you now that you brought up pictures. I could tell you. There was one time when I was younger, we were hanging out with our older brother and his wife at the time, and it's like when digital cameras were first becoming like popular, you
Yeah.
know. And they took a picture of their dog in the kitchen. But what was weird is it's a digital camera, so it's not like any type of double exposure or anything like that.
Yeah.
When they looked at the picture, there was another dog behind their dog, completely different dog,
Oops.
looking like a ghost dog, almost as
I,
if it was a double exposure.
wow, that's weird. I've seen a lot. If you look online, there's actually a lot of cool security camera footage of. Like, there's one. It's a really famous one. It's a dog playing in the backyard, and it's like a
Yeah,
ghost dog playing with it. Which,
yeah.
if you're gonna think of spirits and ghosts and all that, I mean, I would hope that animals have souls and spirits just the
Oh,
same as
absolutely.
us, and
Yeah, yeah.
with just what they give us as far as companionship, friendship, being part of the family. Like,
Absolutely. I can
you
tell
look at
you right
your
now, like
you look at your dog or your cat, that's something that can give love and have its own
yeah.
thoughts.
I will tell you actually, there was another thing here. Actually, it just came to mind because we're talking about pets. But my dog Coco, I missed her so much. But she lived till she was 15 years old as a pit
Mm-hmm.
bull, so it was very old. But she was very known for her clickety clacks, her nails on
Yep.
the wood floor.
Yeah, I know. I remember hearing my black lab always heard her nails click.
Yep, and I will say, like, we would hear my wife and I would be in bed, and this is like probably like a couple of days after we had to have her put down. We would still hear the nails here and there. We were like, "Did
Mm-hmm.
you hear that?" Like she'll be in bed, she'll be like, "It's always Vicky hitting me." Did you hear that? Because she can
Yeah.
hear way better than I can. I can't hear for shit. Being in a metal band, you know what I'm saying, and being an
Yeah.
irresponsible fucking kid with no fucking headphones and shooting guns with no fucking hearing protection back in the day, like an idiot.
Yeah, we were dumbasses.
Yep, yep. I mean, lesson learned. Unfortunately, it's a hard lesson, but it was learned.
Yep.
But
Mm-hmm.
like, so she's always hitting me like, "Did you hear that?" And I have to sit there and focus, and I'm like, "Oh shit, yeah, I do hear it." So, but that was one thing that we did notice, about the like animals in general, but like Coco. I will say cats though freak me out. I think cats are more sensitive than any other
Yeah.
fucking
Oh,
like.
like our we're cat people. We don't like
Oh,
our
you
house
are
is too.
cats.
Yeah, we're cat people. Our house is too small for a dog anyway. I wouldn't feel
Yeah,
right having maybe a little dog, but I don't like little dogs.
they're annoying.
Um, but the cat, especially working too, like that
It's
hours, we
it's
work.
almost impossible to fucking take care of anything now.
Yeah, at least the cats can. The cats are pretty independent.
Yeah.
So, but you can see the cats like they'll notice things, and you don't know what they're noticing, but they'll be looking around and like kind of checking things out, and
Yep. Yep.
you know,
Yeah.
but
Absolutely. Like,
could be a mouse in the wall for all I know, but
could
they
be. Yeah.
oh, that actually reminds me. So I did have something else happen here.
Okay. What you got?
Um, it was probably a month or so after that weird audio that we heard on my Blink
Yeah.
camera.
Oh, that
I'm
he's
sitting
coming.
on I'm sitting on the couch, right, watching TV. Both my cats are sitting next to me on the couch, right,
Yeah.
and all of a sudden, somebody knocks on my door, on the window though, on the
Mm-mm.
glass. It's like it was quick. It was like three knocks, like knock, knock, knock. I'm like,
3 knocks. Mm-mm.
yeah. So the cats heard it. They jumped and booked. They ran to the other side of the house. They didn't even. They hid. and my none of my security cameras went off, like my motion alerts. And normally, as soon
Ugh.
as somebody comes up my driveway, my motion alert
It
goes
will,
off.
yeah, we'll kick it. Yeah.
Or at least like by the time they get up, before they get to knock on the door, I could get an alert, motion detected. There was nothing, so I freaking ran right to the window with my gun, of course.
Yeah.
I look out, because I got my front door and then I have a big window to the left. So I take the curtain, I look out. There's nobody.
That's creepy,
There's
dude.
nobody. I go outside. I checked the perimeter. I looked everywhere. I went back on my cameras, everything. There
Mm-mm.
was nothing. Like the only thing I could think was like a woodpecker.
Yeah,
Something,
yeah,
I don't
right.
know.
For it to be like a full knock, like I don't
It
know.
was it was loud. It was loud. It was forceful
And you
too.
know
It
what they
was
say
like,
about three knocks, right?
I don't want to know.
I won't say it then. People could look on their own. You didn't have any. Was how recent was this?
2 months ago, 3 months ago,
Okay, and
maybe.
you don't know anybody who has passed away within the past 2 months, right?
Personally,
Like personally, yeah, that you've
mm,
known or that you talked to,
no,
because the
not that I can
supposedly
think of.
three knocks means that death is on the door.
Oh,
It's a little creepy if no one's there. Yeah, I'm like
yeah, it is.
that's a little creepy, but
It is kind of
oh, did I
creepy.
tell you? I actually went to that Mid Orange Correctional Facility too, and did the ghost hunting there.
Oh, you did say something
Yeah,
about that.
with the
Yeah,
USA Tours, or USA Ghost Tours or something like that, and that was an experience because like what was weird about that is working in a prison, I wasn't really scared to walk in there.
yeah,
It really wasn't. It sort of took away from the experience. I was sort of like pissed off a little
yeah.
bit.
Like, oh, I'm at fucking work.
Yeah,
Like
because
this is,
they all look the same. All
yeah.
the prisons look the same for the
I
most
mean,
part.
the cells are all the keys, the
Yeah,
locks,
yeah.
everything, the corridors. I
Yeah,
mean,
it's all antiquated stuff, but that is still used today. So like I walk in there and I'm like, and we didn't tell any of these people that I was a correctional officer
yeah,
because I didn't want them to know. I didn't want nobody to know nothing. I wanted to go in there with like a clean blank slate. I'm like, let me experience whatever I can. You know what I'm saying from this whole thing because they also charge a ridiculous amount, but
mm-hmm.
I forget what it was for. But like we went with my brother-in-law and my sister-in-law, and it was me and my wife, and it's the four of us. It was freezing as hell. I want to say it was like in February, and there was no heat or electric to the place
Yep,
because I guess the guy who bought it is a professional soccer player. He bought the whole facility and he was turning it into like a soccer camp, but then I guess they had to stop because of like whatever was going on. So in the meantime, I guess he allowed this ghost company to come in and to like he'll generate money from it, obviously, and then
yeah,
they're going to generate it. But he's got a little gift shop there for the soccer stuff, and he's got this huge field now. It's like a legit soccer field, pretty cool. But all the housing units are all like basically condemned. So we're walking into this place. It's freezing as hell, but it looks just like work, just beat
oh
up.
yeah,
It
yeah.
like literally, it's all the light lime green, like back in the
Oh man,
day.
the same color,
It's the same
everything.
same exact green color that we used
Oh
to have, right?
man,
So I walk in there. I'm like, oh, okay, whatever. But then there were certain things. We went to the chaplain's office, like the chaplain area in Mid Orange, and I will say this is where it was a little freaky because this company they seemed like the ones that you would see on TV. It was a little cheesy, and
yeah,
I'm like, all right, well, let's see if this actually works. So I'm sitting there with a skeptic's mind, even though I fully believe in the stuff. I have experienced it, but if I'm not going to experience it right then and there, I'm not just going to fall into it or play into it. So they put this like flashlight at the end of the hallway, and it's her flashlight. So and that's where I'm like, but that's your flashlight. Like 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 how do I know?
let's use mine.
Exactly. So that's basically what it turned into. So they have a flashlight and they're talking to the spirit. They have all the readings. There's so many different tools that they have, like the thermal gun, the EMF stuff, the voice box. They have all this stuff. I'm like, this is pretty cool. So you don't have to bring any equipment. They do it all in front of you. You're basically doing an active investigation, but it's interactive. So they'll let you ask questions and stuff like that.
Okay.
So they actually take my brother-in-law and because they're like, who wants to put this blindfold on and go into this separate room away from everybody else? And he's like, I'll do it. And I'm like, you're fucking nuts, dude. I said, you're nuts. He's because he's a complete skeptic. And he was like, if I'm going to experience something, then let's go.
Yep.
And I'm like, that's the best way to be. So he
Yeah,
takes the
that is really
blindfold
the
in
best
there.
way to go about it.
He puts the blindfold on and he goes into this pitch black room with nothing in it. And then the rest of us are out away from him doing this investigation separately. you know. So they put the flashlight, they're talking, they're blink the flashlight, yes, no, whatever. And it's blinking here and there, it starts to die. The whole thing dies. The battery dies. And I'm like, okay, that's a little weird, because we just seen
Mm-hmm.
her put the batteries in it. So we're like, okay. And then someone else says, how about my flashlight? And I'm like, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Because I didn't
All
bring a
right.
flashlight. So I'm like, okay, because they actually invite like other investigators if they want.
Yeah.
And they allow you to bring your own equipment.
I'd be a
Is
dick and bring my own batteries here.
so yeah, exactly,
Use
yeah.
my.
Exactly. I should have done that. But so they do it, and sure as shit, same thing happens. And then we see a shadow here and there. I'm like, okay, cool. Okay, it's starting to pick up, but I'm still not going to fall into it. I'm still going to be
Mm-hmm.
objective, I guess you could say. So we come out, and Stuart, my brother-in-law, he didn't experience too much. He said he felt like a heavy feeling, but that was about it. Which actually happens to me a lot. That's actually the most common experience that I get still to this day. It's like when I walk into a certain area or just walk into a certain part, and or especially at work, like there's certain areas where it's just you get that uneasy feeling like someone's watching
Yeah.
you, someone's there with you.
Yep.
That's the most common for me. But like I got that whole entire thing there. But there was this one point because Mid Orange Correctional Facility, it used to be a boys' reformatory, like way
Okay.
back when. So like all the the little dickhead boys,
Yeah.
getting their act straightened up. So, but like there was a certain housing unit, I guess, that was more active than others. So they gave us the thermal gun. So it's me and my wife walking around with the thermal gun. We're all separate, we're all in this whole
Jeez.
housing unit. But
Must
they
feel like
allowed
you're
us.
doing midnight's rounds.
Yeah, so yeah, it almost felt like that. It almost felt like that. But like they allowed us to separate with their equipment, and then to come back and to share experiences and stuff like that. And the whole time, like when we're in this big circle before we split up, my wife's just like, "Can you stop touching me? Like, can you stop hitting me?" Because she felt like someone tapping on her knee. I was like, "I'm not
Nope.
touching you.
Wasn't you?
It wasn't me." And she's like, "What do you mean?" I was like, "I'm not tapping you. I'm not even." She's like, looking down. She's like, "What the fuck?" I was like, "It wasn't me." I was like, "You got to say something." She's like, "No, I'm not saying anything." Because they were like, "If you experience something, just let us know." I'm like, she's like, "I'm not saying anything." So she didn't want to say anything. So we went around, and not too much on the thermal at all. That thing was sort of like, I was like, there's really nothing here.
Yeah.
But where it got really good is we walked into the mess hall over there, and we don't know any history about this place. They didn't tell us anything about it besides the fact that it used to be a boys' reformatory, but no specifics. So we walk into the mess hall, and my wife, along with a couple other people, started complaining that they felt heavy in the chest, like they
Mm-hmm.
like anxiety was building, and I kept hearing a woman hum to my left, like as if she was probably like 10 feet away from me, like humming. And then once someone else said, did you hear somebody humming? And I'm like, yes, I've heard it not only here but in the other place too. But I said, someone's been humming. It's almost like only on the left side. They're like, yes. And then someone else that was in a separate group said they heard the same humming
Huh.
because they
That's
split
weird.
us into separate groups. So everybody in these groups were hearing this humming. So after that, we turned around and they did the whole voice recording where they'll have the recorder out and they're asking questions to somebody, and this guy Vito comes through, and we're like, who the hell is this guy Vito? So we're like, and then how did you die? And sure as shit, dude, right on the recording, he literally says heart attack.
Oh wow.
As clear as day, he goes heart attack.
Wow. That's
Like
good.
that. So we were like, what the fuck? So we find out that there was an inmate there. His name was Vito. I forget his last name. He actually knew Ronnie DeFeo somehow.
Hmm.
But there was some sort of, I guess, mix up in the mess hall where he actually died of a heart attack in the mess hall,
Oh wow.
right? So me being me, when I went back to work, because we went on this tour probably like 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, and I know a couple officers that we worked with at Greenhaven. There was two that were married. I won't mention their last names, but there was two that was married. They actually
Mm-hmm.
moved to Florida.
I
And
know who
then
you're
there's
talking about.
then there's another officer who still works with us, and they're all from Mid Orange. So
Yeah.
I asked the married couple. I'm like, hey, did you guys
And
know about this inmate that supposedly died in the mess hall at Mid Orange, and it wasn't that long ago? They're like, oh yeah, that was a
oh yeah,
Vito,
Vito.
Vito something. And I'm like,
Oh
holy
wow.
shit. Holy
That's
shit!
awesome.
So
That's awesome.
it was true. So everything was backed up. I'm like, yo, that's creepy, But underneath the mess hall is, I guess, where they stored all their. That's, I guess, where the cooler is and the freezer. That
Okay.
area, I refuse to go into.
Yeah.
The feeling I got was so heavy on my body, and the feeling of the chills was so overwhelming, because like when you get goosebumps now, and when you get goosebumps real bad, some people are like, oh man, that's like, now imagine that times 10.
Yeah.
It feels like needles, bro. It feels like needles.
I've only had that happen in a couple places, but when that does happen and you feel that, you
Yeah.
know that's like everything is telling you, don't be
Don't.
here.
Yup.
You know,
and
that's
and that's why I was like, I
and you
refuse to
gotta
go
listen.
further.
You gotta listen to yourself at that point.
Yes, 100%. Was that, well, like, have you? What was the worst experience that you've had, like creepy, like where you were like, nope, that's it, I'm done.
Let me think. So it was at well, I didn't really. I'm kind of stubborn, so the the creepiest thing I ever had happen that kind of like threw me, like made me go, like I should probably get out of here, and
Yeah.
because it was telling me get out of here,
Oh
like
shit.
quite literally, it was at it's a house in Wappingers, right? Old house, and we were doing an investigation, and I had a it was upstairs in the bedroom, right? We had motion cameras set up and everything, and I'm just sitting there doing an EVP session, and I'm like, do you not want us here? Like, what do you want? And as I say that, the motion camera lights up. The flash on it kind of lights up. It's like a red
Yeah.
light that comes on, and a shadow comes across the bedroom wall, a huge shadow of a finger pointing at the door,
What?
like clear as day. And I'm like, whoa.
That's nuts, dude.
Yeah, I was.
See,
That was
I've always
insane.
been intrigued and interested in the ghost hunting thing, and to think that some people actually make money off of it is insane.
That's me.
Like,
I ran into people like that, and it just,
like,
we never ever charged anybody to do anything.
the
It was a
experiences alone are rewarding.
Yeah, it was a hobby. Like even when we went to Georgia, right? We'll swing back to that. We paid for all of that out of our own pocket. We paid for the
And
flight, the
that's
rental
great.
car, the hotel, and we went there to help this girl. It was a girl we met on the Maury Povich show. And that was
Nice.
one of the best investigations I've ever done. It was fun though. It was like a little vacation. We went for the weekend. We flew out of
It's
Stewart.
experiences, man. That's what life is
Yeah,
about. Like, no, I mean, here I
yeah,
go getting into the wellness thing, but that's what life's
yeah,
about, man. Like, get into what you enjoy. Like the fact that you
yeah.
can take a trip out of state to a new area that you
Yep.
would have never been in, and you're doing what you love. Like,
Oh
come
yeah.
on, you can't beat that, man.
It was great. We even like jumped in the back of a pickup truck. We drove, checked out some old Civil War forts while we were down
I'm
there.
all into that stuff.
It was cool. Then we did the investigation. We I think we got there on a Friday and we came back like Sunday or Monday.
Yeah,
But it was cool. Like we when we got down there, like we spent the whole first night doing an investigation, and then like the second night we were set up in the hotel room, and it was like a command center, like you see on like
yes,
Ghost Hunter on
yeah,
TV. We had the
yeah,
laptops going. We're sitting there listening.
yeah.
And what a lot of people don't realize is you do an EVP session, right, or you leave a recorder running for 8 hours.
That's
You
a
have to
long, yeah,
you have to listen to that for 8 hours. You got to
yes,
review all that.
yep.
So you have 3 recorders going all night. It takes you a while to
Yeah,
go
there's no
through that.
AI with that shit. Like,
No. So that investigation, right? I can't find me. I don't think I have the.
see, I would still
Uh,
to this day, I would love to do this stuff. The only thing is with me and my faith, I just honestly, I just think it's too dangerous. I think it's too dangerous. I don't want to open doors I can't close. I'm afraid something's going to follow me home.
hold
You
on one
know?
second.
Yeah. Oh, you got more
I
evidence.
don't. I'm gonna send you an email.
Yeah.
Um. Yeah. Let me send this over to you real quick so you can. Let's see.
And this is from the Georgia investigation.
This is going to be from Georgia. Can you just send me a message on Facebook with your email address, quick?
Yeah, I gotcha.
That way, I
I'll do
can
it on my
just.
phone actually, so this way I don't have to.
Yeah,
mess
that
with the computer
works.
here, and we can still
And then
talk and chat.
so this investigation, right? The Georgia one that we went on. This was a
Yeah,
girl who had been her mother had passed away, right? And for the last like several years, she'd been seeing full-bodied apparitions of her mother around the house, and
that's wild of her
like just
mother.
of her mother. So we go there to help, maybe like just get evidence, maybe help her make contact, if that's what's going on. And I'll tell you, like so we go there, right? And me and my friend Danielle, we're in the basement doing an
Yeah,
EVP session, right?
yeah.
And I start off, I'm like, my name's Ryan. This is Danielle. We're here to make contact, see if you can, speak to your daughter, blah, blah, blah. We go through it. We go through it all. And then my friend Danielle, she's like, all of a sudden, she's like, we know nothing about this woman. Like, we went into this not knowing anything.
Yeah.
And my friend Danielle, she's like, my stomach really hurts. I keep feeling like I keep feeling like it was something with like maybe stomach cancer that,
Wow.
So I'm like, all right. So we start playing back the audio, right, that night. And it was one of those moments. You ever watch the old like Ghost Hunter
That was my
episodes?
favorite
Like
show.
when they be like, oh my God, listen to
Yeah,
this.
yeah, yeah.
Like I always, oh, they're playing. No, that happened to me. I'm sitting there and I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, my buddy Andy. I'm like, Andy, come here, listen to this. Like, this is crazy.
Yeah.
So as we're saying that, you hear her say in a southern accent, go, hello, thank you.
What?
And that's the one I'm going to send to you now, if you can hear it.
Hell yeah. That's
But
wild, dude.
yeah,
That's pretty
so
wild. And that's also something that I was researching too. I guess a lot of ghosts can supposedly make you feel what they went through. Like they can make you experience what they went through, like the
wrong one.
feelings and the smells and stuff like that. Like I said earlier.
So along with that too was when Danielle was saying, my stomach hurts.
Yeah.
I can't find this part of the clip. I got to really go through this stuff. I haven't looked at this stuff in
Yeah, you can send it to me
10 years.
after, and then I could
I can
just
send it,
sneak it in.
but I remember we played it back for her. Right, you hear a woman in a thick Southern accent go, "Oh yeah, she got it, lock and key, she got it." You hear her saying in the
What?
EVP,
Like just like that?
just like that. So we play that back for the daughter, and she starts crying. She goes, that's my mom's voice."
Wow,
Yeah,
that's amazing.
and that was like that was probably one of the craziest ones I've ever done.
I mean, think
Like,
about it. That's
and
such a good way to volunteer to help people too.
yeah, it was really cool. It was an awesome little weekend, right? We ended up getting lost in the middle of the nowhere, and then her boyfriend had to come pick us up in the middle of nowhere in a pickup truck in the pouring rain. Like it was actually a fun time. It was like a really
Hey,
good time.
whatever. I mean, it's like I said before. It's
I
all about
still
experiences.
I've still got all the pictures from that. I did catch as far as photographic evidence. I never really get too much. We have some stuff from what we did at my house, but
Yeah.
the only thing I really got from Georgia was like a weird shadow
You
on
know
the
what we should
wall.
do? Even though I'm not really into this too much anymore, because I'm not gonna lie. Like I said, getting more involved in my faith, I'm a little bit more of like cautious.
Yeah.
But like that Shanley Hotel that's up in the Catskills, I've heard that is
Oh,
fucking
I've always wanted to.
ridiculous.
I've always wanted to check that out. Yeah,
Why not?
that'd be cool. Yeah.
Why not? We could fucking record it. We could do our own fucking investigation. My wife would flip out because she's
Let's do
all into this shit.
let's do a podcast on the move.
Yeah, yeah. I could easily do a podcast on the move. We could fucking
That
do
would
it
be
right
cool.
there.
That
Fuck,
would be
man.
cool.
I mean, with today's technology, we could go live.
We could do it
We
live.
could do
Yeah,
it
we
live.
absolutely could.
We could have like a special edition.
Yep.
That's crazy. Hey, did you ever go to the Poughkeepsie Insane Asylum? I think it's actually, hold on, let me say the right name. Hudson River State Hospital. It was.
No, so that was like a rite of passage growing up for us too to
Oh,
go
I used
there.
to break into there every weekend. Sorry, it's
I
already too late
I
now.
actually I know I actually never went there. But I will say I'll never forget. Yeah, we're sitting at the cafeteria right in Ketchum.
Yeah.
It's like ninth grade, 10th grade, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And I think it was, I forget who it was. Was it Matt Butler maybe, and a couple other guys,
Could have
right?
been. Yeah, it was always me and
Yeah.
Brad and
So I think CJ was there too, right?
CJ.
So I forget who it was, but they come back. They'd gone there like the night before, and they
Yeah.
brought back like a bunch of stuff they weren't supposed to have. You know, like,
Oh yeah.
and they're like, oh, they found like old medical files for like patients that were there from like the
Yeah.
19
Yeah. There was a
50s.
whole piano that was taken out of there.
Oh man,
Like it. And the funny thing is that was all a search just for a straitjacket, but there was not one at all.
nobody found one,
We
huh?
could never find a straitjacket there.
That's
But what
funny.
was weird about that place is like it was pretty cool. The only thing that we didn't go into was the church because it was still an active church.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
like, but everything else was condemned, and I'm not gonna lie, it was for a good reason because we could have totally got hurt there. The
Okay,
floors were
so
completely collapsed. So
one place we did go, right, and it was such a it wasn't a bad experience. Thinking back now, it's actually a great memory. But
okay,
so it was me. I think Matt Butler was driving. Um, there was a bunch of us. I forget. I think it was like me. I think Brian Henning was with us. Like,
oh shit,
yeah, like there was a bunch of us. We went to
yeah,
that all girls college in Millbrook, right? What was the name of it?
bro. Oh
I can't
yes,
remember the name of it, but we
yes, it's right at the intersection. That place, I've heard a lot of wild
oh,
things about it.
so this is how our night went going there, right? We were just dumb like 16-year-olds, right, at the time. So Matt, I think Matt's driving, or no, Matt's girlfriend at the time was driving, right? And she's
Okay,
like, and I forget her name. She was
Bennett
forcing.
College, it's called.
That's it. Yes, that's. So she's like, we're driving, and it's like a blizzard for some reason.
What a good
Like
night.
like middle of like the snow's coming down, and we're driving like we're all crammed in like a Honda Civic, and she's blasting like Britney Spears. And
That's totally, totally
oh,
early 2000s.
yeah. So we get there, and I think I forget. I want to say it was Brian. Brian had a samurai sword with him for some reason.
That sounds
like,
about right.
yeah. So anyway, we go there and we just start checking everything out. You know, we're just being dumb kids. You know, we
Yep.
go there and like we're looking around and
You
like
made
now
it
it's
inside?
we did. We went inside.
Oh,
So
damn.
it's like 2 o'clock in the morning now, in the middle of a blizzard, and we're checking this place out, and all of a sudden we look and we see fresh footsteps inside
What?
this place, right? And we're like,
Bro.
somebody else is here in the middle of a blizzard. Like, what's going on? Like,
Mm-mm.
so we look, and now all of a sudden we go down this other room and we see more like footprints, but they're like dog prints. Could have been coyotes or
Oh,
something.
yeah.
And we're like, yo, like we're not alone here. Like nothing like crazy paranormal happened, but
That's
I
still
do
creepy,
remember.
though.
I do remember we went upstairs, right, and it had to have been Brian. It had to have been Brian. He's got the samurai sword and he's got glow sticks, and he's snapping glow sticks and throwing them down the hallway. You know, doing ninja stuff like.
Yeah.
And we go down in this one. I'll never forget. We were upstairs, and this one hallway just keeps. It was like out of a freaking like Dr. Seuss like or
Or like a
whatever
Willy Wonka.
movie. It's a Willy Wonka. It just keeps getting smaller and smaller. Like we're trying to go down this hallway. We're like, all right, never mind.
Yeah.
And then I'm pretty sure the cops showed up at some point. We took off, but
Yeah, we tried to go into there, but by the time we got to it,
it was too
'cause
dangerous, right?
it wasn't even that it was too dangerous. They got smart. They
They
had spotlights, cameras, and a security guard there.
Oh yeah, I think they put a big fence up around
Yep.
it too.
Yep.
Yeah,
So
we went way before all that.
yeah, yeah. But like we used to go into the Hudson River State Hospital all the time. Used to go all the way up to the roof, smoke cigars and whatnot, throw the fucking
Yep.
rocks off.
Yep.
Stupid shit. But like they had their own bowling alley there. I'll never forget that. There was their own.
I've
It was
heard about it.
yeah. It was the rec center, and there was a big Olympic-sized pool. And there was a bowling alley, but it was strict. Like, dude, if I could picture that place, or the best way to describe it would to be like, it would look like The Walking Dead. Like it just run down, nobody there,
Run down, abandoned,
grown
and,
over. It reminded me of that. It was pretty weird though because like it has its own roads, its own buildings, its own everything there.
Yep.
But I'll never forget. There was also another good night where it was me. Remember Vinny, Big Vin?
Yeah. Vinny G. Yeah.
Yeah. So we wound up. He would be with us. He was our muscle, But like,
Yeah, he was always the muscle man.
yeah. Good dude too. Still to this day, great dude.
Yep.
when we would go there, there was one time where we thought we were almost caught bad. Like we thought we were
Mm-hmm.
gonna get caught. Like there's that little house, like the administrator's house, that's up on the top of the hill in front of the whole place, and it's all grown over. You know what I'm saying? It's an abandoned house, but the grass was like really tall. So all of a sudden we hear sirens. We're like, oh shit, because we're getting ready to leave. Like we already did what we were doing, hanging
Yeah.
out, just being kids, being stupid. That was the same night where when we first broke in, there was blood all over the floor, and we're
Oh
like, what
wow.
the fuck? And we thought maybe it was an animal and whatnot, but we're like, junkies have also been known to be in there too.
Yeah,
You know?
squatters, junkies, all that
Yep.
stuff.
Yeah, and then the next time that we were there, it was cleaned up. But we're like, what the hell? But like, we left. So as we're leaving, we see these lights and we hear sirens, and it sounds like there's a fucking car coming up the driveway. So we're like, oh shit! So we jump into that tall grass by the administrator's house,
Yep.
and we hung out there until the sun came up because we were too scared to fucking move.
Oh wow.
Until we realized that it was a fucking accident on Route 9 the whole time. So, but the
Oh
whole
man.
time, me and Vinny are sitting there like, "Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy-" like praying
Oh,
that we're not
that's
gonna get caught. It was nuts. It was nuts. But yeah, there's a lot of good
and
times.
honestly, thinking back, what would have happened if you got caught? They would like, get out of here. Don't
Yep,
come
yeah.
back.
That's what
That's
would have
probably
happened back then. Yeah, who knows now?
yeah.
But yeah, that's what would have happened back then for sure. It's just nuts, dude. Like this whole entire like the paranormal, like you can believe in it. You don't have to believe in it. It's really up to the individual, and what you're willing to
Mm-hmm.
experience. Because I do find that like if you're really skeptic and like hardcore, a lot of spirits and stuff like that, they won't even bother with you.
Mm-hmm.
It's sort of like a deterrent. That's what they were also saying too at that mid orange investigation that we were doing too. They said like a lot of skeptics, if you don't really, if you have that wall shut or that barrier up,
Yeah.
it actually acts as a deterrent.
Yeah, you can. It's called like shielding yourself. Too.
Yeah.
You keep everything like you're not going to be open to anything, and the theory is too like spirits they're going to take whatever advantage they can to come through.
Yep.
So if they
Yep.
have somebody that's open that they can actually try to communicate or get some
Yep.
kind of information out. Who are they going to? If they want to communicate something, who are they going to go to? The person who
Yep.
actually wants to, or the person who no? I don't believe in that. That's not real.
That's true too. That's true too. I would love to. Honestly, I would love to do another investigation and to have fun with it. Like I said, I just want to make sure that I protect myself because, like I said, I'm very paranoid that I'm
Mm-hmm.
going to open a door I can't close, and I
You
don't
don't
want
want
to
to,
risk that.
and you don't want to bring nothing home to the kids.
And
You know.
that's my biggest thing. That's why like we don't really like mess around much. Like this one investigation that we did that was I think that was that before Liam was? No, it was after Liam was born. But like it was like that was a spur of the moment. Before that, we were all into it. But
Mm-hmm.
we've sort of like just it's not like we're not interested because we still watch some shows. We still call bullshit when it's bullshit, and we still believe in a lot of stuff. But
Oh my god, I wasn't allowed to watch those shows anymore.
it's annoying. A lot of them, like there's
Dude,
one that I think it's Paranormal Society or something. It's the one with the dude with the glasses. He's such a tool. I
I
forget the
don't even
name of
watch
it.
them anymore.
But there was
I
one. It's so obvious, but they actually admitted to fucking reenacting stuff
Yep.
that supposedly already happened, but they were reenacting it. I'm like, oh, don't do that.
Nah, I don't like that.
No.
Yeah, I got to the point where like and Jess, my wife, she'd probably yell at me
Yeah.
too. I'm like, no, that's not real. That would have done that
Yep.
way, and
Yep. Yep.
that's just that reflecting off of that, and it's like, oh,
Yep.
you're ruining it, like.
Yeah. But hey, I mean, it's
But
honesty. So
that's how I am with prison shows now too. I
yeah.
can't
Oh
watch
my
a
god,
I
I
can't
can.
watch a prison show without being like, oh well, that's not real. That wouldn't happen. Nobody would do it that way. You
Exactly.
know.
Exactly. And it's funny because like 9 times out of 10, it's a lot easier than what they depict in movies to get away with shit. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
it's just annoying. But yeah, no, I totally get you on that one. I get you on that one for sure. But hey, man, like, listen, this is an hour and 23 minutes of fucking paranormal shit. I love it.
Oh yeah.
You got anything else to share? Any other wild experiences?
Oh man, what else? We had a couple things. Like we were talking before we started the show, right? About Smallies and Carmel, right?
Yes, let's hit that. Yeah, because that's where I'm
So
from. I was born over there.
So yeah, a couple things happened there, and if people don't know the history of Smallies, Smallies was actually an inn back in the day, and Washington quartered his troops there at one point, right?
Really?
And from what I was told too, is the wine cellar, like in the basement where the wine cellar is now, they use that as a makeshift morgue, I believe, at one point. I mean, I don't have anything to prove that. That might just be some story that got passed down the years. But
Yeah.
so we did an investigation there one night, and it was the hardest investigation I've ever had to do because it's an active, fully working bar playing music upstairs.
Yeah, it
You
looks
know,
like actually it looks like they closed down in 2020.
oh, they did. I
Yeah.
did not know that.
Wow.
Wow, I did not know that.
Yeah.
Oh, so anyway, I did catch a couple good pieces of evidence. I'll send those over to you too. But
Yeah.
so I asked, were you stationed here? Were you quartered here? Or were you military? If so, what was your number, your regiment number, your platoon number, anything? And you hear when you play it back, like you hear the music playing in the background, but I was able to clean it up a little bit. You
Yeah.
hear somebody go 130th.
That's wild. So
So I was like,
specific.
very specific. So I tried looking up a little bit of that, and I believe there was like 130th out of New York volunteer that may
Okay.
have been in that area at the time. I'm
That's
not
pretty
100%.
cool though.
Yeah. And then what else was it? Let me just check because I have it right here. Let me check
Yeah.
my notes. Check my Smallies notes.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah, it looks like it closed
Oh.
during the pandemic. So
Yeah, and then so we were downstairs, right in the basement. That's the other part that happened. There was, remember you were talking about light switches on and off.
yeah,
and
yeah, these fucking
and
things.
it'd be cool to actually I left it on, but you didn't. You never actually see the light switch turn on and off.
No,
I did. We were in the basement, right, and down by the wine cellar, and there's like a single light bulb that's like just kind of out in the open by itself, like
Yeah.
just sticking out of the wall.
Yeah.
There's a light switch right underneath it for the wine cellar. Me and another investigator are sitting there, and all of a sudden the light switch just starts going up and down, back and forth. The light starts flashing.
Bro.
I was like,
And you didn't run your ass out of there? I'd fucking jet.
the whole reason I was there was to investigate that stuff.
I know,
though.
but it's fucking creepy, dude. But that's the difference between an investigator and somebody who's just on a tour.
Yeah, I was like, but we didn't have like this. We didn't have like cell phones with cameras back then, or like,
Yeah.
we didn't have like be recording everything like people nowadays.
No,
do.
you had like a Nokia
I had-
i68 or something.
I had like one Sony freaking handheld camera camcorder, and that's what I used, and that was on a tripod on the other side of the room.
Yeah.
That's what we had back
Today's
then.
technology, it must be so much fun too, and to investigate.
That's why I haven't done it in years. Like I said, I got out of it probably around the time we took the job. So
Yeah.
when I took the job, so 2010.
Yeah, I mean it's hard to have time for anything.
It's hard to have any kind of hobbies,
Yep, yeah, for sure. But I'm definitely down to do another one. I mean, hell, like
We'd have to find a good spot to do it.
Shanley's.
Hey, figure out the details and let me know. I'm down.
I'll do a little bit of investigating about it because
let me know.
I mean, my wife Vicky loves this. She wanted to go back to Mid Orange.
Oh wow.
Yeah. I mean, we could do that too because it's about that time of year that they do that. They do it from this time all the way up until like through the winter, I believe. So.
Okay. Yeah, let me know. That'd be cool to do something like that.
Yeah, for sure. All right, bro. I think I'm gonna end it here. But it's always been a pleasure, man. I mean, and if we have any more paranormal episodes, or if you experience anything else, or if I do, we could always come back and revisit for sure.
I mean, it even doesn't even have to be paranormal. You want to talk about glitch in the Matrix stuff, or just life, or whatever.
Absolutely.
I love stuff like that. Conspiracy theories, you know me.
Oh yeah. I keep forgetting about that other end of you too, because like there's a lot of stuff too. Because the last episode I did was the outer space and astronomy, which was fun. I did that with Tom Papadopoulos. But I do have aliens and ancient civilizations that I've been talking about, but it's so hard to get because there's so many details about that.
There's a lot to go over with that.
Oh, it's crazy about the Anunnaki and all of that stuff. It's wild. So, but I'll definitely keep you in mind. You're on my my revisit list for my guests here, so you're definitely going to be coming back. So
sounds good, man. Thanks
for
having me.
Hope everybody enjoyed. No problem, man. I don't know. Towards the end of the show, I usually let people plug anything. If you have anything that you're doing lately, or if you want to promote anything, or anything like that, or.
I got nothing.
Nothing. All right,
I got
cool.
nothing going on.
Nothing.
Uh,
Nothing. Well, you got.
Work. That's it.
Yeah, that's all we have time for. So, all right, bro. It's very good seeing you. And
All right, man.
till next time, thank you guys for listening.
All right, thanks.
Bye.